Hello and welcome to 175. That's the episode number. I'm Jason.
And I'm Bill. And Jason, why don't you talk about the new number of 503?
Patrick Mahomes signed a 10-year extension worth $503 million, $500 million, which obviously is the richest deal in NFL history, but
In sports history.
But you also have
That's the new gold standard.
it's a new gold standard. But the reason I like it for the Chiefs, my main two reasons are this: you have a 24-year-old Super Bowl champion, MVP, and far and away the best quarterback in football playing today. And assuming injuries do not hurt him, which in football you just don't know, he could blow out a knee next season, and I don't know how the contract would work structure-wise, but it's impossible to imagine that you're going to get a player as good as Patrick Mahomes for the next 10 seasons. And then I think if you're the Chiefs,
I would say that's a very accurate assessment. I mean, this kid from Clemson, you all think is going to be a stud, but you already know what Patrick Mahomes can do, and he's already done it.
and he's still young enough to get better and better and better. And we've seen moments where he does seem to have that flair for, I know when to run. I can make the big play when I have to make the big play, the big throw when I make the big throw. And the longer you play, the higher your higher football Q goes. I mean, but I think the other great thing is like I said, the Chiefs know, yes, you paid a world record NFL contract. And in a small market, which I know a lot of the analytics guys would be like, you're better off, you win your championship in the first 5 years when you have your quarterback, yada, yada, yada. But if you have the best quarterback in the league, you've got a chance to win every single year. And they do. And if you're another team...
If you can afford to keep enough talent around them now.
Right. But I think he's one of those guys,
I'm sure they spent so much time working on this that they did it with the least damage to the cap that they could.
Right.
And I'm sure there's all kind of deferred money and everything else, but, we'll see.
And I'm sure they worked it out so that as the cap grows, eventually this deal will probably look like he's, like he'll be the fifth best high-paid quarterback in like 5 years somehow. But the other great thing is you have the best quarterback. And even though Deshaun Watson and Dak Prescott and I'm trying to think who else, a couple other young, eventually Carson Wentz, even though these guys aren't nearly as good, we know how the market works. The next guy wants more than the last guy got. And now you're the Chiefs. You sort of forced everybody else to have this huge headache because Deshaun Watson's up for a contract. He's going to be like, I want Patrick Mahomes' money. And you could argue that he's in a worse situation, worse coaching, doesn't have the talent around him, yada, yada, yada. But I don't think he's the same player as Mahomes or even close. But now if you're the Texans, anything less than that or anything that's not even close, it's going to turn into a giant headache for you. And they've just created a headache for every team in the NFL, essentially, whenever their quarterback comes up.
You signed somebody to a 10-year, $400 million contract, which I guess 2 weeks ago would have been outstanding.
Yeah.
Now you've really set the thing. You're just like there's a Mike Trout contract in baseball. Now there's a Patrick Mahomes contract in football.
And again, it's you look at every other team, like so and so is the highest paid wide receiver. The second one of the next good guys comes up, he has to get more money. That's how the agents work. That's how everybody works. So you've just destroyed everybody else, while also signing the greatest player of our generation, perhaps, up for the next 12 years. So. Just wow, if you're the Chiefs.
Big number.
Yeah.
Scary. Speaking of football, how are you feeling these days about whether we're going to have football and how it's all going to work out?
I think the best, obviously, I think we're in the middle of it. We haven't handled it well in this country at all, clearly. But I think that,
Clearly.
The NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, the NHL, they have so much money behind them that they can bubble themselves off and find a way to get it done. I do know, obviously, just using the NBA, for example, the Nets shut down their practice facility because they have players test for COVID. The Bucks
shut down theirs today.
The Bucks shut down theirs today.
The Heat shut down theirs the other day.
Right. So, and they're about to go to the epicenter in the place worse than New York, in Florida, where Disney World is about to reopen on the 11th and 15th, respectively, some of the parks. Now, I know they have all sorts of safety in place, but I don't know. I know we don't have a cure. We don't have a vaccine. I just think it might be a very, very different season. Where
I think it's going to be interesting, and they've already canceled 2 exhibition games.
Yeah.
And the players want to cancel the other 2. And you know, if that happens, in my opinion, the first 4 games of the season are going to be. I wouldn't make a bet on any of those games.
No.
Because you're going to have exhibition performances because people aren't in sync and people haven't played in real good conditions and everything else. You're not going to have quality football for those 4 games. I firmly believe that.
No, and the other thing too is, I forget what Dame Lillard's his entire quote was, but he was basically saying you can have all these safety measures in place, and you can have people wear tracking bands and everything else. He's like, but do you think you're going to keep every NBA player in their hotel room every night of this quarantine?
No way.
He was basically implying he's like I know too many guys in this league that are not going to be okay, that they're going to sneak off campus. And he's like, and the second one sneaks off campus, he's like, then we're all in a perilous situation.
Yeah.
He had a much more clever, fun Dame Lillard type quote, but you get what he's saying. And I think the NFL, you have even more players. It's potentially,
Yeah.
And again, who knows about college football or anything else? I mean, and the Pirates, they've had a couple players test positive already. I know hockey's had, I think, they just reported 9 more cases. So, I don't know. And I don't know if it's too late to, as a country, which also would help sports and sort of bring it all together, if we could copy New Zealand for the next 3 weeks and hope that really helped, if we could actually copy one of the successful countries now, or if it's too late. I don't know. But like I said, I think the money will force sports to try to find a way to play.
And speaking of that, Jeff Samardzija, who's a pitcher on the San Francisco Giants, talking about baseball, there's going to be fans in the stands. I think we've seen with these owners, they're not scared of anything, and they're not scared to put anyone at risk if they get the opportunity to, especially if it makes them money. There's going to be people in the stands. There's going to be socially distanced and rows apart, and that's how it's going to be. Owners have already said that's what they want for the fans. I just want them to be safe.
Yeah.
So Ticketmaster is creating these stadium diagrams to keep people socially 6 feet apart. So they are trying to figure out how to put fans in baseball games. I know they're not going to start off that way, but I'm figuring, maybe by mid-August they'll be willing to experiment, depending on what's going on with the virus everywhere else. I mean, it's still crazy.
Yeah. Well, we've had a number of cases down here in Louisiana again, and we've already seen pictures, of Bourbon Street on 4th of July, and there was no social distancing and there was no masks. And, we had we went to the vet, we took the animals to the vet today. The vet had huge windows where only one person was in. So Maria and I came with the 2 animals. We both had on masks. Everybody inside had masks. And then only Maria went back with the doctor and the animals, and I stayed in the lobby. And at the same time, there was a restaurant next door that we parked near, and there were people walking with no masks and hugging and everything else. So, until we get everybody on the same page, it's going to be tough. Sports or otherwise.
It's going to be crazy. And here's a quote for you to hang on, Jason. The NBA and MLS restarting in Florida might be the worst idea in sports since the White Sox wore shorts.
I didn't even know the White Sox wore shorts, but that doesn't seem great.
They did in the 1970s. They had a white shirt with like a big blue collar on it, and they had 3/4 length pants, and they had shorts.
Huh.
With high tube socks with stripes.
Well.
And those uniforms are in the Hall of Fame. I can't believe they had them either, because when you slid, you were going to get some nicks and cuts. But obviously, they played a lot better fields than I did when I played shorts. So.
Even still, yeah, you slide hard. I mean, it's yikes.
Well, I mean, everybody says the whole NBA and MLS thing is it's a Disney ESPN ploy, and that's where the money is, and they've got all the obligations to do it and everything. So we'll have to see where it is.
And speaking of Disney and money and football, Colin Kaepernick just signed a deal with Disney.
To do.
It's his production company. It's beginning with a documentary. And then from there, it can go a number of ways. I mean, it seems like the documentary is the main thing on it. And after that, we don't exactly know what it is, but it's, he's with Disney now. So.
Well, good for him. I hope it's successful.
Yeah, I think, I would like to see him get on. I'd really like to see him actually speak a lot, get the whole thing out. Because I feel like we don't hear enough from him, despite the fact that he's sort of the figurehead of all of this. Like, he doesn't talk very often.
Well, going back to our Orlando and Disney, how about this stat? Of the 20 Central Florida zip codes, half rank in the nation's top 30 zip codes for confirmed COVID cases.
Well, I guess, tying a couple stories together, I guess the one hope would be that all those numbers scare the NBA players enough to just hang out in the same hotel and just, have a real, we're not going to bring anybody in. We're not going to leave out. We're just going to suck it up and stay here. So.
And if that happens, you know what I think you're going to have? Some serious high-stakes poker games in Orlando.
Yeah, I know.
Like Disney.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way you can ban that.
No.
And competitive people are going to find a way to gamble, whether it's on, NBA 2K, Madden, ping pong, throwing paper into a trash can across the room. They're going to find a way. So
yep.
Maybe you can have a couple of, World Wide West type people there to just consult people, look like they're getting a little bit of money trouble from dumb gambling.
So Redskins, Indians, Braves. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I still can't believe that's been a name my entire life.
Yes.
And then some. Yeah. So it's amazing that, especially even, from, let's say, 1990 on, it still survived despite backlash here and there. It's pretty shocking. But it looks like they're going to change it. I saw Red Tails, which is, the all African American Tuskegee Airmen. They painted it.
Yeah, but that doesn't really resonate with Washington.
No. Like you said, go back to the Senators or whatever they want to call them. So, I don't know.
The Senators, the statesmen, the Federals. There's a number of ways they can go with it. But I respect Nike and everybody else. Walmart, all the ones that just stop carrying the merchandise. I mean, it's an economic boycott is what it is.
Right, and FedEx.
Sanctions like you've never seen.
Yeah, I think FedEx came out first, right? Who sponsors this team?
Right, FedEx. I think FedEx, Adidas, and Pepsi.
Yeah.
The Redskins. Or FedEx, Nike, and Pepsi. It's big time.
And again, it just seems like for decades it's been the move where, they haven't been a great franchise since I've been watching the NFL. So you have a chance to, rebrand yourselves, which I think is a pretty cool way. I mean, I think it'd be great that,
I think it'd be a great thing too, but who's going to have a heart attack about it?
Who's that? Trump?
Yep.
Yeah.
Trump's already ripping on NASCAR for not having a Confederate flag anymore.
Yeah, it's...
let's not go there.
Yeah, he can go run out and do all that other stuff. So
the Braves say they're not going to. It's not even under consideration for them. But they got to get rid of the tomahawks and the tomahawk chop.
Yeah.
But the Braves, the Braves to me could be a lot of different things. But I would probably go with Warriors.
Yeah.
Warriors is a it's violent, but it's not ethnically discriminating because every nation has warriors, every race has warriors.
And the other thing with the Braves, I mean, like, I always think, I know they're the Atlanta Braves, but like all their hats just have A's on them for Atlanta.
Yep.
So I mean, they're not even as synonymous with their names. It's a kind of a generic nickname. I mean,
No, they have a tomahawk on the uniform.
Oh, that's true. I was just thinking
but
back
they don't have a brave. They used to have a brave.
Right.
If you look at the Hank Aaron uniform, there used to be a brave on the sleeve, and they used to have a variety of Indian chiefs and braves and everything. And the Indians got rid of Chief Wahoo, and they went to an eye, but the eye's kind of weak. If you change Indians to something else, I guess you'll come up with a new mascot and a new logo there too. But I agree with you. I think rebranding the Redskins could be a lot of. If you get a good creative group to do it and make it fun, I think it'd be really. You could sell a lot of merch and people would want to be part of it. But you gave in.
And I'll come up with something next week because I can't think of one off the top of my head. But when you look about some of the youth phenomenon, in, between Overwatch and Fortnite and some of these esports, some of them have like really defined mascots. And the easiest example I'll give for my non-video game people is like when you think of Nintendo, you think of Mario. And that was sort of for the younger generation, or Link, or Metroid, or Samus. But like now, there's a whole generation of young people who don't really watch baseball for starters, and some don't watch football. They watch esports. But if you were able to incorporate, sort of the youth video game mascot in some sort of cross promotion, you could, at least get a lot of attention, sell more jerseys and hats for sure, at the very least. And then that's a pretty non-offensive, name right off the bat. And there's some cool ones. Like I said, I need to do a little Googling because I'm a little bit more of an old school sort of gamer, and I don't mess with a lot of esports stuff. But I think there's some potential there where you could cross over with one of those and really make, it would be a cool mascot for everybody to look at and have the merchandise, but maybe you also inject some youth and excitement into your sport.
Yeah, just modernize it, come up to date.
Yeah.
And if you, especially, with those baseball names, especially if you want to try and attract younger people to it, it makes sense to try and do something along those lines. Your
Right.
logo, your mascot, your colors, whatever you're going to do.
Like I said, I thought it's been a no-brainer for a long time, and it's sad that but again, we're now just getting rid of, the rice guy, Uncle Ben, and Aunt Jemima and everything else. So, it's good that it's finally happening, but it's shocking that it hasn't happened. It's taken this long, or that, teams are still being resistant.
Mrs. Butterworth getting nailed?
I think it's just she has sort of that, she looks like a housekeeper in The Sound, or one of those older, what's the Frankly My Dear Don't Give a Damn movie?
Yeah, but I never associated Mrs. Butterworth with race.
But
I thought she's kind of heavy. Maybe they don't like her being heavy.
Although I don't, who knows?
Don't know on that one.
No.
I'm puzzled on that one. And I saw today Big Boy is going to change.
Isn't that just a fat white guy with an Elvis haircut?
Yeah, holding up a burger.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can change him.
Okay. Well, sure, whatever. I don't think I've ever, I feel like I've seen one, but we had one in Pittsburgh that was closed down, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's been around for years. He's got like overalls and a red and white check.
Yeah.
He's got big eyes. Kind of an Elvis kind of flip on the hair. But I've never considered him anything. So I don't know. We're to the point where we're considering everything.
Yeah.
And I'm not, and I know that that's what a lot of people want to do. I think we've got to find. The pendulum switched, and we're pretty far over now the other way. And sooner or later, though, we're going to have to stop it. When do you stop?
Well, I think if we could get some,
because he was a womanizer. When do you stop?
I don't know. Like I said, I like the idea of replacing them all with those dancing guys from car washes. But even that aside, I think once policies are in place, which still isn't, none of those things are happening except for a few states like Colorado, we get some actual policy changes. I think that'll eventually, that's what people want. And they're almost being placated by these smaller things, which is also causing the other people to get angry for loads of reasons. But yeah, I don't know.
We will see.
But,
so they released baseball schedule today.
Yes, they did.
So I'm actually supposed to be in Pittsburgh a weekend when they're playing. So I'm wondering if I'm going to be able to get to go to a baseball game. And I would go just see what it would be like.
Well, again, if you're there already and you're wearing a mask and they have social distancing, Like I'll tell Marie today, I've got this cool black one, and I feel like I'm Scorpion or Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat. It feels pretty awesome. So I like wearing them. These, I'm really bummed. I ordered 2 from my favorite clothing company, RVCA. And it feels like they're designed for a larger head. Because as you know, I'm 6'4". So some of the masks, I feel like it's struggling to cover my nose and then give me like that support on my chin. But this one gives a full, nice coverage while still leaving, my neck free. Because, the one you gave me, I'm pulling it up and it's on the back of my neck and the back of my head, so it's sort of everywhere. Not that it's not breathable, but it's,
Yeah.
But I really like those. But they only sold them for like 1 week as like a raise money for something. And I did, and you don't know. I mean, I'm assuming right now, whether it's Nike or somebody's making the ultimate mask. It's going to be much better. There's going to be the ideal mask at some point. You can already get any logo you want on them, but eventually you're going to get one that's like, oh, I like this.
So I want something that's going to fit snug. When I'm wearing sunglasses, they're not going to fog up, and it's easy to breathe through.
Yeah.
If anybody's listening out there knows one of those, let me know.
Yeah, because I see a lot, and it's sort of like, we're currently shopping. This will be boring house stuff. This is our boring house stuff segment. I recently moved. We bought a new house down here in New Orleans, and we want a new couch, but we see all these cool, whether it's Burrow or some of these other, startup companies that send you, you can buy pieces and pieces. But a couch feels like something you really have to sit on before you know if you like the couch.
True.
And I feel like a mask, I can look at an ad and be like, well, that looks like it's doing some of the things that I want a mask to do, but I don't, until I buy one. So I buy one or two, and then all of a sudden they don't make them.
There's a lot of difference between spending $10 and $1,000.
Exactly. That's the other issue. That's why the masks are much easier to throw a few dollars here, throw a few dollars there.
Make a mistake on the mask, make a mistake. Like I bought Oklahoma City Thunder masks.
Yeah.
And they're a little small.
Yeah.
I mean, I can breathe through really well, but they have a filter, which I like, but they're a little small.
Exactly. And again, our family is fairly tall, so we have larger heads and hands and feet and all those things, so it makes it a little tougher.
We bought some today that are like the one I sent you.
Mm-hmm.
Only they're Arctic cool. They're supposed to keep you cool in the summer.
Well, that would be fantastic if that's true.
Well, I'll let you know. We just got them today, and we're going to try them out.
Okay.
And also has some elastic in them, so they fit a little bit better than the shark thing I'm saying.
Nice. Well, I have a sport here. Yeah, here's my sports analogy for the music Hamilton. I thought, we don't need to discuss the relevance of, how accurate the history was, because clearly not entirely accurate. There you go. We said it. It's done. Whatever. Who cares? But I thought, the guy that plays Aaron Burr, who I think his name's Leslie Odom Jr., absolutely phenomenal. And the guy that played Washington, phenomenal. David, who has two roles as both Lafayette and Thomas Jefferson. Every time he comes on the screen, he just pops. All the ladies, and I know it's sad that I didn't know their names. But as I told you off screen, and again, all props to him. He wrote an incredible musical. The songs, the arrangements, the topics, it's beautiful. But I sort of feel like Lin-Manuel is sort of like Christian Laettner on the 92 Dream Team. Clearly a talented person. But when he's on screen with everybody else, like he's not a very good dancer, he's not a very good actor, and he's not really a good singer or rapper. Not that he's not competent, but just when he's on the screen with stage with everybody else, he just...
So you'd have him on the team, he just wouldn't start.
Like I said, he wrote everything. So clearly he's, I'm bringing him up, on stage, and I'm standing back and giving him his moment at the end so he can have his little glimpse of fame. But I just feel like somebody else in that part really would have just brought it to, it's already a classic, but it would have taken it just to a whole other level. And there are a few songs that that have stuck in my head.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that this is going to be a trend rather than an exception.
Oh, well, speaking of which...
There's going to be more Broadway shows that we're going to be able to watch at home. And if you've got a great TV and a great sound system, and I've been to a lot of Broadway plays, but I watched Hamilton the other night on a great TV with a great sound system, and I thought, wow, I'm glad I didn't spend $600 for a ticket.
Yeah. Well, I know you can watch Patrick Stewart in Macbeth. I think that one's actually free. I think you can watch Much Ado About Nothing, and there's a couple other Shakespeare ones that are up. I've not actually...
They're putting a lot of the Broadway stuff on when it's on Broadway for people that can't travel there, and it becomes a revenue stream, and those actors get to make some good money.
Oh, clearly. And again, just like, whether you're talking about a concert or a sporting event, if it's coming to your town and you can see it live, go see it live.
You want to see it live. But if not, and you're in like this, man, I'll tell you what, it was a great production.
Right. And even when Hamilton came to Tampa in the Strass Center where I had my play, like, you can't you might not even get a ticket. You can only enter a lottery to buy a ticket. So now you're exposing it to so many more people, which is really what you want to do if possible.
And you know what, too, Jason? We see how many shows open and close on Broadway.
Oh,
they don't last a month.
Right.
But if you had an opportunity to be on television on one of these streaming services, you could at least probably break even if you weren't a successful show. If you streamed for a week or something.
Right. Or if you started,
I think there's a lot. I think it could be very beneficial a lot of different ways.
Or if you had the Netflix of Broadway and then you had a bar that was off Broadway. Because I can tell you, somebody that put on a play that sold out 3 shows. We only had 3 shows. We sold out 3 shows. Like, if you pay everybody, including the venue and your insurance, unless you're selling soundtracks or you have an additional source of revenue, it's because
you can't make any money.
You can't make any money because for the you're paying rent on the space beforehand, so you can get your sets in there, so you can rehearse in there. You're paying your actors, you're paying everybody. So you have months where you're not making any revenue, and then it's a very difficult feel. It's a lot. That's why a lot of it depends on grants and everything else. But if they had $6.99 a month or whatever price point that the smart people come up with, but if it was the Broadway app, Broadway of Netflix, and you also had, like I said, you had the off-Broadway stuff, and you could have the smaller plays. Like if you made a play and you got a good system and filmed it well, then at least it's a chance not to showcase your work, but also make a little extra revenue for somebody. So, but again, if you have access to Disney Plus or friends that have it, it's definitely worth watching.
Yeah. I got a food moment.
Oh, I have more TV.
Okay, go.
If you have HBO Max, the Dr. Sleep Director's Cut, which I know sounds crazy because it is an extra half hour on a 2.5-hour movie, which makes it about 3 hours. The Director's Cut really adds a lot. Like, you can't tell, it's seamless. Like, it's not like some of the old Director's Cuts where you can be like, oh, this looks a little wonky. But the parts where they've added really makes the story deeper. And it just makes it a much better experience overall, which was already a pretty good film. Not a great film by any stretch, but a pretty good film. And then we are both watching. I've only seen 1 episode. After the podcast tonight, I'm going to watch the 2nd episode. But there's the Golden State. He's obviously in the news everywhere, but there's the new Golden State Killer documentary on HBO. And it's just, so far it's been really well done for the little bit. It was really entertaining for the parts I got to see.
Yeah, it's really well done. It's got the real players in it. All the victims and everything, and they're very cooperative and telling the story and how this guy went. It's an amazing story. Very well done.
Yes.
And I just watched the first 4 episodes of Outcry on Showtime, which is about this high school football player accused of child molestation. And it's an amazing, amazing story. And if you think our justice system works, watch this show.
Oh, and I'll give one more quick shout out because let's be an entertainment blitz tonight. Also on HBO, I started watching Doom Patrol. And Doom Patrol was a comic that first appeared in the 1960s. It's sort of DC's X-Men would be the easiest way to talk about it. Except these are all sort of doomed people. And so far it's been really, really good. Timothy Dalton has a small part. Brendan Fraser is one of the characters. It's sort of a ragtag, emotionally broken group that end up in this place. And there's like the one girl's a starlet from like old Hollywood who's kind of not a great person. She dives in the water during a filming of an old, look like Treasure of Sierra Madre type film. And this alien parasite enters her body and now she's slowly learning to control it, but it makes her into this ugly, messy blob. So it's got sort of, like I said, it's this ragtag group, but so far it's been, the production value is really good. And I do sometimes crap on some of the, comic book stuff as being a little simplistic, but this is a nice depth to it that I really enjoy. So.
Now, have you been watching Perry Mason or not?
No, I've been kind of saving it.
It's really, really good.
Yeah, I want a couple episodes to, go
watch it.
Yes.
Watch it, viewers. It's really, really good. Okay, now I'm going to get my food moment because we haven't had a food moment for a while.
No, we have not.
So last night I went to Philippi Creek Fish Camp and Oyster Bar.
Okay.
And it's in Sarasota. And I will say they didn't socially distance and they didn't wear masks. The waiters and waitresses wore masks, but it was like the people didn't wear masks. But we went anyhow. And I've been really into eating a whole fish lately. And last night I had a blackened whole snapper, and it was to die for. It was really, really good. So if you're ever there, you're going to get some really, really, really good fish, fresh. Mom had stuffed grouper, Kevin had blackened grouper, and I had the blackened whole snapper, and it was delicious.
Okay.
Great place to go.
And I have sort of an odd shout out now. Like I've given a few video game tips, but if you have an Oculus or an Oculus Quest, which is VR, which I know is a much smaller group of people, but if you have access to VR, you've talked about Topgolf, right?
Yeah.
They have a game now called Pro Putt. And Pro Putt is an 18-hole golf course, but you're just putting in VR. And it's just phenomenal. Like it's very immersive, feels great. Like it is cartoony looking, the putting, but the putting feels great. You have to read the greens. And it just...
Are you holding a putter?
You're holding the Oculus Quest controller, which is...
Okay.
And then, but when you're in VR, you have a putter. And you can feel the weight of the putter. And like I said, you got to read the greens because some go off and here, and it's really, really cool. And this is, I mean, like I said, we're still in the infant stages of VR as an entertainment. But, like I said, I've done the Anne Frank tour through VR during quarantine to sort of see what it was like for, other people throughout history that have had that, which is something, again, if you're in Amsterdam and you make a reservation, you get to go, but it's cool if you're an educational purpose or just an experiential purpose. But the golf thing is, it feels like the sweet spot. It's like Topgolf is very popular. And now you can just do it in your house,
Yeah, nice. I like this.
And again, the Oculus...
If that visit, you have to try it out.
Yeah, and the Oculus Quest, which is the one I have, is the wireless VR. So everything is in your headset. You just press a button, everything's in the headset. You're not connected to anything. There's no other computer. There's nothing else. And then you either use your hands or you can use the controllers. And like I said, the putting is really, really fun.
Okay.
And they have different courses, and the better you do, you unlock courses as you go. But like I said, it feels now because you get a little feedback when you hit the ball. You get a little rumble, and it has the 3D sound, so you're feeling, you get the little pop or the little ping when you hit the putter with the ball. It's really fun. So Pro Putt by Topgolf.
All right, well, there you have it. You got full range tonight. We had sports, we had entertainment, we had food tonight, and video games.
Yeah.
So we went the full gauntlet. Hopefully things still stay healthy. We keep moving these things. Games have been announced, schedules have been released, but players are opting out, and I expect more to opt out, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And again, like I said, I mean, whether, Batman wear a mask, it feels kind of cool sometimes. It's not that big a deal. Just wear one.
It really is that big a deal. And,
you wear a seatbelt in a car. Yeah.
So the analogy I heard today is, when you say it's my right not to wear a mask. All right. Remember when it was your right to smoke a cigarette inside? You could smoke a cigarette on a plane. You could smoke a cigarette in a restaurant. You could do all that. And we figured out that wasn't a good thing. This is the same thing. It's not a good thing. Wear the mask. Don't fight it. Wear it.
Yeah, that's it. And
Peace out.
Peace out. We'll have more sports, hopefully. And if not, I'll have more video games, food, entertainment. I'm watching a lot. So there you go. Till next week.